All right, what's going on, everybody? I got a super cool video, very educational here. We're going to be going into the club's path, the hand path, how this relates to an arc, how we can use it for the takeaway, and what we can use this for, especially in the downswing relating to the hitting area from about hip high to hip high. So if you're a person that's steep, you struggle with over the top, this is a great video topic for you. And anybody else that's just looking to educate themselves a little bit more in regards to this area of the golf swing, this will be a cool video for you. So if you haven't checked out the last video that I did, please click that link below and let's get right into it. So one of the big areas that I see in teaching where I've seen a lot of people struggle with is, number one, what are we supposed to do in the takeaway? How does this relate to the downswing? And basically, what are we supposed to do with the arc of the club down here from hip high to hip high? So this is a pretty important topic because this is the area where we are making contact with the golf ball. So I have a lot of people here that come to me and they have a takeaway that looks like this. So this will work up really quickly, or I see players that work this and roll this in very quickly. And what we actually have to relate this to is we have to relate this to what the actual swing plane of the golf club is, what it's doing, and how this is going to affect impact. So we've obviously got planes. We've got a plane that we could start off up here. This would be more like a plane as if we were playing baseball here. We could have a plane that's down in here, we can have a plane that's down on the ground, and whatever the object is that we're holding is going to form that. So when we look at how this would mathematically make the most sense is we want to keep this golf club as close to this initial starting plane as possible. For me, I think that's what gives a player to hit the straightest golf shots possible. That gives them a bit of an advantage. So if we started up here, so like let's say if this is my swing plane right here, okay? So this is where the golf club would start, right up against this line. So what I've built here is I've built a three-dimensional wall as a relationship for this. So from here, if we have the golf club here, it actually doesn't make very much sense because we have an axis that's rotating around our body. The arms would work around the body, the hands would work around the body, thus the golf club would work around our body. So if I tried to keep this in a straight line forever, well, my takeaway down in here now would look like I'm doing this. Okay? Well, then from here, now we're going to have to do something to compensate to try and get this back on plane as well. It wouldn't make much sense to come down in here. So it's like when we see people right here that are trying to work the golf club straight back, a lot of times they're going into a lot of early lift in what the shoulders are doing. So as soon as the shoulders start to come out of their socket, so if I'm right in here and I demonstrated this move right here from down in here, that's going to look like I'm doing this right here. And vice versa, if I'm right here, if I work this club low and in, that's going to look like I'm working this right here in this direction. So now we're in a form of where we're going to have to compensate in some way, shape, or form to get the golf club back on plane to actually hit the golf ball fairly straight. So if we went in here and we kept this on this plane, so this would mean this golf club right here, from here to here, this is staying the same height. This is staying the same height when I have the golf club here parallel to what the ground is. So you can see the direction this club is working, it's working in as it now lines up with a few joints that I have. It would be lining up with my shoulder, my elbow, my wrist joint right there, the grip, the club head, and the face right here. Okay, so from right here, this golf club is working in like this. And now same thing as we start to work this back to where that started, now it is going to start working in this direction. So where we see people get in trouble is they'll go this direction and this direction. We just don't see it from that relationship because golf is not played on a plane that is parallel to the ground. It's played on a plane right here that is angular. So if I did this right in here, and I worked this golf club back to here to where it would be in line with the target, and it would be as well parallel to the ground. Well, if I did this right in here, for me, in order to do that, I've got this stick right here relating to my feet. This golf club is starting to work in, and we've got to now work this on this plane to get this right here. And what you'll actually notice here, you'll notice how low my hands are. This is, again, this would be a relationship in the downswing where we would want to see the hands, so that now the golf club can start to arc back around this plane. So I think for a lot of you that struggle with the takeaway, and you struggle as well with the downswing portion, one of the first places to relate this to is, relate this to parallel to the ground. We can see the club works in. Now, I don't have any excessive change in what my forearms are doing. I don't have any crazy shoulder lifting going on. I have this club working this direction, so you can see the height of my hands would be roughly the same. The shaft is now parallel to where the target line would be, and we can see how this has worked and arced in. I haven't had any change in what my forearms are doing. I haven't had any change in what my shoulders are doing, and therefore I haven't really had any change in what the club face is doing. And again, standing parallel to the ground, this club face as well is parallel to what my spine angle is. So now what we've got to do is we've got to take that feel from here, and we're going to work that into our motion right here. So as we go right in here, that would be more of what my feel is. Then I'd be working it up. I'd work it back down to this point, and I would start to work this again on the opposite side. This is going to start working on an arc. So here's kind of a cool way that you could practice this and you could see this from a visual standpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stick right here in the ground, and it's going to rest roughly on the same plane as what this 7-iron is resting. So if I came in here and I set the club up right there, our two areas that we're looking to sync up with this on the way back and on the way down, as you can see, this club is starting to work in. It is not working straight back. This club is starting to arc in, and we can see how this is now lined up to where it would be parallel with the target line. It would also still be on the swing plane, so we can see there's a little bit of up, there's a little bit of in to get this here. And if I put this hand on right there, now you can see how that club as well is working right through my hands. And then I would work this back down that direction. So this is a very cool way of doing it. Now, for the player that's really struggled with what they're supposed to do with their shoulders, what they're supposed to do with their arms from here and on the way down, and then I'm going to show us how we can use this as a drill to where we can use this to hit the shot shape that we want, especially for the player that struggles with moving the golf club too much this way. So from here, as I work my left hand back, you can see I'm still on this same plane right here. I'm lined up with this. You can see my shoulder joint, my elbow joint, and this wrist joint right here, your snuff box, is in line with the grip and the club head, parallel to the target line, which now from here, we can work this. This is now on plane. We can start to work it up, and we have just a very small shallowing move in order to get this golf club back on plane. And I'll tell you, doing a lot of this stuff mirror work wise and bringing awareness to creating, feeling what the golf club is supposed to do from an aspect in regards to the plane it works back on, the plane that it works down on, and impact is super important. So if we went into kind of a cool little drill right here that we could use, what I would do is I would take an alignment stick, and I'm going to place this on my target line. Okay, so I'm going to throw a golf ball right in here. Okay, so I'm going to place this right here on my target line. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out my golf club from the end of the hosel to right in here. I'm going to grab another alignment stick, and we're going to put this in the ground, and this is going to sit in the center of the grip. And what we will do here is we're going to go the width of our foot from side to side in the center of the grip, and we're going to put this straight up and down right here, okay? So what we'll notice in here, if I grabbed one more stick to connect this from the golf ball to here, you will notice the direction that this is moving is more inward. So we would have now a relationship of getting this golf club to here, especially if you're the person that struggles with taking it outside, coming here, coming over the top. Now what we would have here is we would have a really good visual of where the club would be here, working it to the top, back down, and feeling how we would get this to impact and start to arc that back around us. So this right here for me, this is one of the best visual stations that I've been able to use for myself, for players to understand what the path is doing. And again, what you'll notice is this is running very close to this before this gets on this plane. And what you'll see from here, I'm not going to have any forearm rotation. I'm not going to be popping my shoulder out of its socket to where I'm moving this way and behind. So your parameters here are going to be roughly where your foot line is, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood parallel to what the target is. You've got this for our target line, the length of our club, and now what we have here is a really good visual to work this club back here, bring it back down inside of that, and feel what impact is. And simply running through what this feel is, hold some of these positions here for 5 seconds, start to train yourself neurologically what it is that you want to feel so that you can start to paint a picture. Because the thing that I have found with golf, what makes it really hard for a lot of people here to learn this sport is we are trained as people from a very young age to see things in straight lines. The problem with golf is played on a circular motion. We're used to looking straight out at the target and saying, all right, I want this to go straight and straight forever. And that right there is not very conducive for hitting the shots that we want based on a game that works around an acting arc system, okay? So this is a way that you can start to see things more from a line perspective of how we would want to work this golf club. So the first thing I would have you do, set up to the golf ball. We're going to relax the shoulders, work this in parallel to here, and you can see how low my hands are. The club is through my hands. Work this back, bring it back down to this point, bring it to the golf ball, and work it around you right here. So this would be a very good way visually to work on this. Then what we can do is we can move this out of the way. You can keep this on the ground if you'd like. You can move it and give yourself a good foot's distance so that none of these come into play when you're going to be hitting. So from right in here, my very first shot that I would do is I would take this right in here. I would set that there, work it back, feel it to here. There's impact. And I would probably hit this from this position first. I'd go right in here, work it back, and I would go hit right there. Okay, and once that gets fairly comfortable, I would put another ball right in here, and we can start to now work this in a motion here. Feel this, work it back, bring it down, arc it, and again, start off slow when you're initially doing this. So this would probably be the speed. If I wasn't going in from a stopped position, this would probably be the speed of my very first one. So I'd go here, and that would be more of what my look would be. So that was like a 7-iron, probably went about 140, 150 yards, and that felt very slow to me, but again, it was very solid. And eventually, we can start to work this up now to a fuller speed inside of these parameters, hitting shots to where now we can feel it's like there's nothing that would ever want us to go this direction, or we're going to run into these sticks right here and we're going to have some problems. But you should be able to hit draws, fairly straight shots from this here. If you're that person that's struggling with that. So I'd be in here, work it to there, work it back, bring it back down, feel impact, and then I'd go. And that would be more of my look to hit that shot right there. So this is a great way to figure out how our takeaway is supposed to work without adding all of this unnecessary excessive forearm rotation It's also a great way for us to feel what we're supposed to do in the downswing from hip high to impact and back around, especially for the player that struggles with lifting the club, taking it in and pulling it steep. This is a very good feedback station for you, I would say, just to educate yourself on the directions that we should see the golf club moving to actually be able to produce a fairly straight shot to a slight start right draw. If you're the right-handed player, it would be the opposite if you're the left-handed player. So I appreciate you guys taking time to watch this. Thank you again for all of your support. If you have any questions whatsoever for me, I will do my absolute best to get back to each and every one of you. Leave a comment down below. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.